Hello there everybody in YouTube land and welcome to the Mr. Sin channel. Today for economics we're going to be talking about brain drain. Now this video it's going to be important that you use the guided notes. You can find them in the description below. The guided notes actually will have some links to some articles and practice problems that you're going to need to be able to understand this concept. So take out your guided notes, hit the subscribe button because why not? And let's figure out what's going on with brain drain. Now the first thing we have to do is establish what brain drain is. Now brain drain isn't that feeling that you get after you finish your final and all the information you learn just shoots out of your head. No, brain drain is geography. It deals with the loss of skilled, intellectual, and technical labor, where people decide that the region they're in or the place they're living in is no longer for them and they all decide to start moving out. And what happens is a bunch of different things. The skilled and intellectual and also technical labor goes to a different location and then the original location starts to suffer because of it. It's experiencing brain drain and there's a bunch of effects of that which we'll get into in just a little bit. Now before we go into a real life example of brain drain, I want you to try to think about why this stuff could happen. Now normally there's three different reasons why we see brain drain occur. It could be geographic, economic, or it could also be a professional environment. So go through these questions, the three of them, they're in your guided notes right now, and try to figure out why people would leave. What environments for geography would motivate people to leave and to also come to? What economic environments would push people out and make them want to come to an area? And what professional environments would make people want to leave or come to a new area? Take your time in thinking these through. There's a bunch of different answers. So if you need more time, make sure to pause this video. In just a second, I'll go into some of the answers. And your answers may differ from mine because there's tons of them. And I don't have time to go into every single possible one. All right, so hopefully you have had some time to kind of figure this out and think through it. Again, if you need to, pause the video. But we're going to start going through some possible answers. The first one is geographic. There's a ton of different things that could be here. Maybe your climate isn't the best for that particular skilled labor that they want to go into. Maybe your climate isn't that just enjoyable to live in. Maybe a different climate people want to because it's summer all year round. Or they can produce a lot more because they don't have to shut down during certain seasons. For economics, the question number 2, there's a bunch here as well. It could be that your economy is currently going through a recession and it makes more sense to go to a more favorable area. It could be too that there just isn't enough jobs for people to have and so they are leaving. And then because people are leaving, more jobs are going away. Or at the same time, maybe all of a sudden you see new opportunities of economic growth in a new area and this one starts to seem like it's on the decline. The last one for professional growth is maybe your skilled service just doesn't exist in that actual city you live in. I mean, we could look at a perfect example of Rochester, Minnesota. Rochester, Minnesota, there's a huge pull for doctors to come here because of Mayo Clinic. We have a very good professional environment here. There's room for growth. You can learn, you can continue to advance in your field. At the same time, though, we don't have the best environment for coal miners. Not a lot of opportunities here. It wouldn't make sense for you to be a coal miner in Rochester, Minnesota. We just don't have that much room for growth here. So these are a couple different things that could be answers to these three questions. Now the next thing we're going to do is get into an actual scenario. And I want you to turn now to your guide notes and either read the NPR article or also listen to it. It's going to be talking about the Midwest in the United States and why they're experiencing brain drain. What are some of the consequences of that? And at the same time, too, I want you to try to troubleshoot how could this be fixed? The article will give an idea and we'll see if you agree. So for right now, pause this video. You'll come back to it in just a second where we go over some of the answers. But I want you to answer the questions on the NPR article that are in the guided notes. So do that right now, listen to the NPR article, and then come back to this video. So hopefully you've had time to go over the NPR article and answer those three questions on your guided notes. If you need more time, pause the video. We're going to go over the answers right now. Now the first question asks, what's happening with brain drain in the Midwestern states? Now the NPR article brings up an interesting point. What we're seeing is states like South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, Kansas are losing their college graduates. They don't think there's enough opportunities here. They are bored. There's not enough to do for the younger generation, and they don't think there's a lot of professional growth. In fact, we don't see people start coming back to the Midwestern states until their 30s when they're ready to kind of settle down for a family. So we can see that people think it's a great place to live, to raise a family, but maybe not when you're an aspiring entrepreneur. Now, the next question goes, what does the podcast say that's one of the main problems within the Midwestern states? Why are we having this problem of brain drain? So we can see it's happening. A majority of our skilled and fresh out of college labor is leaving. Why is it? And one of the things it brings up is an interesting point on attitudes. It actually kind of references Minnesota Nice, going into the idea that because we are so humble and we don't brag, while other states like Texas are constantly boasting about how awesome they are and how great, everything's bigger in Texas, the Midwestern states don't show off their states. They don't show all the opportunities there. They don't show all the potential and the fun things. And so one of the ways to fix this, and this gets into the third one, could be to kind of start advertising and be more aggressive, less humble and Minnesota Nice, and a little bit more boisterous. Now, hopefully you can see, one, how this affects real life, but two, how it could be solved. There's a bunch of different things, and brain drain is a really important concept. It seems simple, but every society has to worry about this. If brain drain continues to happen, let's say with the Midwestern states, well, eventually economic activity drops, standard of living drops, unemployment starts to go up, and it becomes hard to fix because if all the skilled and intellectual laborers are leaving, well, who are you going to get to have these high-end jobs? And companies won't want to move into the area because there isn't a workforce to support that. So it's this cycle that can occur. So societies do a lot of things to try and counter it, from trying to provide opportunities for college students to trying to make sure that it's a business-friendly environment and to make sure they can keep jobs there, and maybe even creating nightlife and different opportunities for people to have fun and excitement while enjoying their work environment. So hopefully brain drain makes sense to you. Hopefully you understand exactly how it affects a community, what a community can do to counter it, some real life examples of it. And we only talked about the Midwest here, but it applies to all of the United States. Every society has to worry about it because when brain drain occurs, it can start a vicious cycle and it can be detrimental for a community. I'm Mr. Sin. Thank you for watching this video on brain drain. I hope you enjoyed it and it helped you. Don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. And until next time, I will see you online.